You're listening to Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms.
The time is 6:55. You're on Power Breakfast this morning with Tessa Dooms. Sasha Stevenson, Executive Director at Section 27, joins us this morning just to get an update on what is now a new unfolding part of the Life Esidimeni story. Sasha, thank you so much for joining us this morning. The NPA say they will be pursuing charges, but only 2 deaths of the hundreds that we saw would be part of those charges. What is your view as Section 27 on this decision? Is it going far enough?
Morning, Tessa. Well, the NPA hasn't actually even made that decision. What they've done is they've received a legal opinion that says that recommends prosecution of Ms. Mahlangu, the former MEC for Health in Gauteng, and Dr. Manamela, the former Director of Mental Health, that those 2 people could be prosecuted for the deaths of 2 of the mental health care users. But the NPA hasn't, in fact, made its decision yet. It's still going through its own process. So it's a very frustrating and long process that the families have been waiting now for almost 10 years since some of their loved ones died. And we still don't have a decision on prosecution. Of course, we're pleased that we're moving in the right direction, but frustrated that it's taking so long and that it appears that if there is a prosecution, it'll likely be only in relation to 2 of the 144 deaths.
And Sasha, before we get to just the views of the family members and, of course, the activists who've been working on this story for the better part of a decade, let's just also talk about the fact that we do have, inquiries that happen. An inquiry happened around Life Esidimeni, but it has still taken this long for a process to unfold. What has been the delay in this? And does justice delayed in this instant feel like justice denied for the families who've been waiting?
Yes, there have in fact been a number of processes in this case. We litigated twice before the move to try and prevent a disastrous move that eventually happened. Then, of course, there was the arbitration presided over by the former Deputy Chief Justice, Dikgang Moseneke. That was in 2017-18, or 2016-17.
And the arbitration was around, was that around?
That was an arbitration for fact-finding, for truth-finding, and also for other forms of redress, including changes to the mental health care system in Gauteng, apologies, and compensation to the families and the survivors. So that process went through, it was finalized, it was an important part of the process, but it wasn't sufficient. Our clients were very clear that there needed to be individual criminal accountability in this case. And so then having asked for investigations right when people started dying, the police then started investigating the deaths, took their evidence to the NPA. The NPA decided that there wouldn't be a prosecution, that there could be an inquest. So then there was 2.5 years of inquest looking into all of the deaths and determining whether, on the face of it, there was enough evidence for the NPA to prosecute. The judge found more than a year ago now that there was indeed enough evidence to prosecute the same 2 people that the legal opinion have found can be prosecuted, and that it then turned the case over to the NPA to make its own decision. And the NPA now, over a year later, has said they've taken another legal opinion that's also recommended prosecution, and they now need to make the decision. So, yes, there's a lot of frustration from families. It does feel like justice delayed is being denied. That being said, we are pleased that we're moving in the right direction, that there is this opinion from senior counsel that the NPA seems to be taking it seriously. We can only urge them to move more quickly than has been the case in the last year and indeed the last 10 years of this disaster.
So, Sasha, what you're saying that there was an inquiry, there's been some legal processes to speed this up, there's been arbitration, and there has been an inquest, and now we're only getting 2 deaths that may be accounted for. How are the families of the other 142 people who died feeling now hearing this news that there's only a probability of 2 prosecutions in terms of deaths?
It's really difficult for people to hear that the deaths of their loved ones might not be the cause of prosecution. And that's particularly the case because we know the circumstances in which so many people died. That's something that came out very clearly in both the arbitration and more clearly in the inquest, where We heard forensic pathology evidence. We heard the evidence from people who were working at the NGOs, from people who had visited the NGOs. And we heard the circumstances of many of the deaths, and the causes of death, which included dehydration, emaciation. People lost 20 to 30 kilograms in a short period of time because they weren't being fed. People went off their meds. They were suffering from gangrene, from bed sores. So it was very clear that there was such dramatic neglect. And so it's very difficult to hear that, and then to hear that the people who put loved ones in those positions might not be held to account for those specific deaths. So the families really are pushing the NPA to consider not just what the legal opinion said, not just perhaps the so-called easiest cases, but also to look to the evidence that was provided in the arbitration, including by family members who said, I saw my brother, my sister, my cousin just before they were moved. I then saw them just after. This is what I saw. This is what happened. Because it's not just the medical evidence that's relevant, but also the experiences of the many hundreds of family members who
saw what happened.
Exactly.
No, absolutely. And you've taken up, of course, many of these family members as clients in order to push this forward. Do we have a sense, just quickly, of when the NPA might make this decision?
We don't. We were told that they will decide. They will let us know the timeframe. So we unfortunately carry on waiting.
So is justice delayed, justice denied? It would seem so, at least for 142 families, that it may actually be a denial outright. But we hope that there might be a difference in this story. Thank you so much, Sasha Stevenson, Executive Director at Section 27.